So we'll start off, right, Ross, by maybe you share a little bit more about what you do and a little bit more about yourself, especially with Fit Summit.
Sure, thanks, Alec. Business-to-business network that looks at fitness, wellness, and hospitality. We cover 4 verticals: fitness, wellness, corporate wellness, and hospitality and spa. A little bit about my own background. I was raised on the west coast of Scotland. I moved down from University of Glasgow to start my early career in London, where I focused on investment in Singapore to grow my company and into Asia, where we sold that events company to a large shareholder. Started out in a gym, and then from that gym, I managed to become a lululemon ambassador, and that sparked the idea for Fit Summit. So Fit Summit is now 2 years old, and we've gone from a local entity into a regional entity into an international network.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, and I think the reach that you have right now is in the thousands, 5,000, 10,000?
I think it's probably closer to 25,000, if not above.
Wow.
I think we've got some great connections now across every single one of those 4 verticals, and then we've got connections both as a company and both individually across the team.
Can you share a bit about, I mean, you're as a Lululemon ambassador, right? So when you say that sparked off the business idea, maybe you can share a little bit more about how the chain of events, or maybe your train of thought into starting the Fit Summit.
Sure. My previous role was co-founder and CEO of an events company that looked at oil and gas, strangely enough. And we connected oil and gas companies with financiers, investors, advisors, and then themselves. When I took a break from that corporate world, I took a break simply because there was no purpose to that, to my being there. It's a great company, a great team, a great product, but there was no real why as to why I was actually there to build and put my energy in. I wanted to come out and try something new, so I tried owning a gym, which I've got a large passion for. While I was at the gym, I was approached by Lululemon to be one of their ambassadors here in Singapore, which was a great that I took up. And I work with Lululemon to host community events and to share positivity and inclusion and energy across the market. In doing so, I met with, both in doing with the gym, which is called The Jungle, and also with Lululemon, I met a large number of small, medium-sized business owners, gym owners, tech owners, startup companies, CRM companies, equipment providers. And having spoken to them, I kind of realized there was a lack of connectivity across the fitness and wellness world in Singapore, but especially amplified across the rest of Asia. So that was the catalyst, was to try and build a community that connected fitness and wellness business owners across Asia together.
And what were the initial steps for you to actually get started with Fit Summit? I mean, growing that from 0 to 25,000 in a span of 25 years is an amazing feat, right? But maybe you can share a bit more about that entire process.
Sure. So in terms of building a community, we have experience of building them in the past, albeit through event companies and event models that are based on communities. And one of the key functions of any community is face-to-face connectivity in whatever format that may take. And the other context is connectivity, but connectivity via non-person, so email introductions, WhatsApp introductions, whatever that is. The third is content. And how are you generating content from your community for the benefit of your community and distributing it back into that community? So in terms of how we set up the initial Fit Summit community, it had to have 1, an element of events, and 2, an element of content. And so we devised a quick, shall we say, stress test on our community by creating a drinks reception one evening in Singapore and inviting about 150 people along to that. Now, that is a low cost, easy access quickly achievable goal that allows you to quickly gain some goodwill capital and quickly understand if there's a value proposition in that community going forward. There was, and people really resonated with being connected, being informed, and that led us to create a larger event. So we moved from a one evening reception up until a one-day conference in Singapore that again was sold out and was equally received. When it comes to content, we had to find a niche in content where people wanted to understand the business of fitness and wellness. So there are plenty of, shall we say, consumer trends, consumer articles relating to content around fitness and wellness, but there are very little content when it comes to the business of fitness and wellness. Our niche, we discovered, was to create business content for these owners, managers, and investors that would give them greater insight into exactly how to grow their business, whether they were a small, mid, or large size enterprise.
Wow. And how have you been tracking the success of this community that you're growing? Is it purely a numbers-driven game, or of course, numbers, we're talking about the number of people within the network, right? The other number I guess we can be looking at is revenue from the events that you are arranging. But how about engagement? How else do you measure success of this community?
Yeah, look, great question. It is tough to put it under one variable. So absolutely, revenue growth in your company is a natural identifier of your success. Is the scale of your team, so is the number of sponsors and exhibitors and partners that you have in the market, as is weighting them to the size and the seniority of those companies and the executives. Another one, of course, is the scale of content that you can produce, so the number of articles, and then, of course, most importantly, the engagement of those articles. Where are they being published? Who is reposting them? Who is resharing them? Who is reading them? And, of course, who from there is learning from them? Now, we use data analytics as best we can to try and track any content that we do release into our network and beyond. But, of course, once you get, it's very difficult then to actually track the direct association of your content. It's posted in a LinkedIn group, and you literally beyond that point have no idea who's reading your material. The way that you would track it beyond that is obviously directly on your site. So yes, we do track it directly on our site, and the data analytics were very encouraging month by month by month with increased readership. What we also found is we were then virally sending it to all of our authors, all of our partners and sponsors, who again were receiving it and forwarding it on to their own communities and their own networks, both internally and externally. Another scale, I suppose, another benchmark of your success is simply the number of attendees each event, which again, if you can see your content and community growing, naturally increase as a result of that. So our events have been growing in size and scale ever since we were conceived. Another one, of course, that you can benchmark is the relative the welcomeness of new events or new content into different marketplaces. So for example, can we run an event in Hong Kong? Do we have enough of a following? Do we have enough connections in Hong Kong to run a drinks conference, run an exhibition in Hong Kong? And if we can, that's proof in the pudding that we obviously have been very successful in engaging and growing a Hong Kong community.
You actually run a really tight and lean team for the Fit Summit. How then do you drum up all the engagement that you need or you feel necessary in the respective different channels? I understand that there's a Facebook group, right? There's also a LinkedIn group, but yeah, what are the things that the team actually needs to be doing to continue engaging the community and keeping the interest levels up?
Sure. We recruited our team based on their belief that we can help build a better fitness and wellness industry. So in terms of, again, coming back to our why is to increase the success, the investment potential, the commercialization of fitness and wellness as an industry. We can help businesses grow, and they in turn can help more people be happier and healthier. Not rocket science. When we are recruiting our team, that was a value they had to see directly. They had to want to be involved in a network whose end goal was to make our industry stronger and better. Now, with that mission in mind, the idea then is, how can you help businesses grow? And you would do that essentially by making sure that you are ambassadors both for industry and for companies and developments. So our team on a daily basis helps promote all good news in our industry. They help promote good companies, they help promote press releases, they help comment on stories, they help connect our sponsors to persons of interest, they help interview and WhatsApp people directly about news stories, about matters that might be relevant to them. And through all this connectivity and ambassadorial work, they essentially become they become recognized as facilitators of growth in the industry. You know, they are always connecting, they are always helping people learn, they are always making sure that people are educated and aware. And for all those reasons, our network has grown, and so has the reputation of our team.
Yeah, that's an amazing, almost spectacular plan or strategy, right? Because everybody in your team is a community builder, innately a community builder, because they're aligned with the mission of the mission of Fit Summit, and wanting to help businesses grow within the health, wellness, fitness, hospitality industry. Yeah, this is definitely a very, very important piece of tip, right? That hopefully people can pick up and can continue to use, right? I know that COVID definitely derailed plans with the huge exhibition that was supposed to be conducted in April, and you very, very quickly pivoted and went online. You had 4 different online series, and now you have another one, a paid one, in August, right? In terms of timelines, okay, before COVID came along, in terms of timelines, were you on track to where you were planning to go? And with the quick pivot that you have, are you now seeing, what is the next plan that you have in the next couple of months, based on the new online schedule that you have?
Sure. If you asked me that question in February of this year, we were on track for essentially a record year. Our revenues had increased over 300% year on year, well, not albeit from a relatively small base, but 300% year on year. We were anticipating sellout events, no problem at all. The April event, of course, then had to be moved into August and subsequently into 2021. Mm-hmm. This has inevitably caused us financial difficulties, as it has everybody else.
Of course.
Thankfully, our team have been very fast to move to a digital effort, but we had to sacrifice. We've had to sacrifice to make sure all of our team are retained, that they're all fully employed, and that none of them are on reduced wages. Now, as a company, we've had to take a hit, but as a community-based network, we have to first look after our employees. That's our core community. Without these employees, without the team, our network cannot function, and we then can't complete our mission of helping our industry grow. So as a company, we had to put extra resource and investment into making sure our team stayed together, stayed engaged, stayed motivated, stayed energized across COVID, because they are ultimately going to help our industry recover. In terms of our growth beyond the second half of the year, yes, we do now have commercial digital events happening in August and October. They are different in terms of what we were normally renowned for. We were technically live physical events company, as almost every event company is. And now we have to move into becoming a hybrid events company, both with live and now with digital online offerings. So very similar to most gyms. We quickly pivoted, we experimented, we stress test platforms, engagement, format, structure. And we then asked our community what works best for you in terms of delivering a great experience, in terms of delivering the content that you want, in terms of delivering the connectivity that you need. What works best? And so we took the last 3 months to compile all this research, and then that has created our platform for August and for October, which we're super excited for. Will we continue these beyond 2020 into 2021? I think if there is an appetite for digital connectivity and digital education, there always has been and there always will be. The balance of how large a part this plays in your business, I think, is too early to be formulated at the moment in time. I think any community going forward, the reality is if you're not live and digital, you're not optimally connecting your network. It's impossible to be one or the other. You need to be both if you want to optimally connect your network. So in terms of 2021, we will go back to live events. We will also have virtual events, but the frequency of those virtual events will be less. However, the event size will be larger.
Amazing. Yeah, and any success stories to share in terms of the connectivity that the team has managed to provide for the members within the community? I mean, success stories in terms of maybe a particular business or individual learned things and managed to be successful in his business, or I'm not sure. Maybe we can share that.
Yeah, look, we do have. Okay, there are lots of ways that we help companies. Whether it's helping them to try and raise some finance and getting them more aware, whether it's helping them secure new by connecting them to investors, whether it is helping them with their brand and profile when they're coming into a new market, especially coming into Asia, whether they're looking for potentially franchise partners, again, whether they're coming into Asia or out of Asia, and how we can promote the franchise opportunity, whether it's simply for a lead generation, whether it's for inspiration, for aspiration. There are 100 ways that we help our network. It's hard to pin it down to just one or two success stories. We've helped companies be acquired. We've helped companies raise finance. We've helped companies get new leads for sales and business development. We've helped them get new strategic partners. We've helped them gain awareness in new marketplaces. So our goals are to try and help companies do have multiple benefits, rather than perhaps help the one or two companies specifically on a journey that they want to do. And we tend to think of ourselves as an ecosystem. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, and this is all done with no additional cost to them, right?
Great question. We have to prioritize our sponsors, essentially, and our partners, because they help underwrite the cost of the network. So our team naturally has an allocation of time per week to help our sponsors. Out with that, then, of course, have additional time that we can help the wider ecosystem grow. Again, we're trying to grow an ecosystem. We're trying to grow a community. And I think when it comes to, the goal of you as a connector, you have to try and think of, are you trying to grow a company, or are you trying to grow an ecosystem or community? And again, some people are great company builders and some people are great community builders. The question you have to ask yourself is, what does your company need? It absolutely needs company builders, but it also needs people to build a community in which it can grow into. So I think if you are a company owner and you don't have staff that are both engaging at industry level for wider development, or you're just simply doing personal business development, I think that's a huge opportunity missed. You need to have people that are focused on industry development and company development.
And was it difficult, for you to put the team together? How did you identify these individuals? Were they within your network already, or was it through recommendations, second, third degree recommendations? It would be good to hear how you found these amazing people.
I wish we handpicked them from a list of thousands, but I think they ended up finding us, if I'm being completely honest. Now, of course, when they found us, we had to ascertain if they were the right people. But for me, I know it's difficult to say, we hire passionate people. We do. We hire people with ambition. Yes, we do. Do we hire people with great personal skills? Yes, we do. But we hire people first and foremost because they want to be part of something that is meaningful. And if they really have a desire to be part of something meaningful, and in our case, this is our mission, do they want to be part of this mission to help more people be happier and healthier? If the answer to that question is an absolute yes, then we will look to hire them. And the skill set is ultimately irrelevant, because we can teach skills. What we can't teach is somebody that really wants to join our mission. And if they want to join the mission, and we can afford them, we can help skill them to be effective in our business and therefore be meaningful in the community.
No, yeah, that's a excellent tip to have as well. And do you yourself personally, you would train and coach whoever who is willing to take on the mission because they believe in the greater benefit that they can do for the community or ecosystem, right?
Yes, so we have to be hands-on with how we want them to be skilled. Now, of course, we also have to be cognizant that the skills that we want them to have, we need to hire external trainers for. So absolutely, we will hire external trainers. We will put them on courses. We will continuously educate them across the year. Again, reskilling, upskilling your employee base at all times is very, very important. But as long as you have them pointed in the right direction with an idea of the mission and they are energized and enthused, it's hard to go wrong.
And what about, you don't actually have a physical office where your team will meet on a daily basis. How do you manage to keep everything running from a more of like a remote sort of operations?
Yeah, great question. We started the company to be mobile. I think everyone that we have has a different work-life balance. One of our core team is a single mum with her son. We all are meeting clients face to face. We all live in different parts of the region. And so I think before COVID, this might have sounded like a tough proposition to try and keep a team on site. The reality is, I think since, throughout COVID, we've realized that running remote teams is a lot easier than what people realize. The working from home policy is very effective with the right platforms, with the right motivation, with the right connection tools. You can easily run a remote team and you can run it very cost effectively. Our team leverages co-working spaces across the city for whenever they need them. We use a system called Wordy, which is an application that allows the multiple use of co-working spaces like ClassPass. So you book in, you book out, you book in, you book out. So it gives them the freedom of having a desk, a space, an area in multiple locations across Singapore at any time they need to. Mm-hmm. And again, that has created for them much more of a comfortable work environment versus being stuck in an office. Mm. From a budgetary perspective, it's fantastic. It allows us to eliminate the need for overhead for all types of for rent, and that's worked very well for the company. We can put the cost savings into growth, and that growth again will help the company forward.
And we talked a little bit about challenges, in the past half an hour. But if there was one key challenge that you faced with the setup of Fit Summit, minus COVID, right? What would it have been, if you can talk a bit about that?
Yeah, that is a good question. The end goal of your community is something you should start your community with. You should start your community with the end goal of the community in mind, but be prepared that the end goal might change. So will your goal become even larger than it has before? Initially, when we started Fit Summit, our goal was to try and connect the Asia fitness marketplace. Very quickly, we realized that in actual fact, we could connect wellness and hospitality and spa and corporate wellness as part of that ecosystem. And so our goal essentially grew larger. suddenly then we realized actually we can create a community that also includes Australasia. And so we grew into becoming an Asia Pacific network very quickly. With COVID and the launch of our digital offerings, all of a sudden now we are a global network of business intelligence and connectivity. And so our horizons have shifted in a very positive manner. But the challenge now is, of course, is how do you become globally relevant? How do you stay globally relevant? And what are the products and the services that you have to push out to remain a global leader in thought leadership? Do the formats of your event have to change? Do the speakers have to change? Do the way you structure and time and date your events have to change? And what is your overall content management strategy for the community? And so aligning this has been a real fun challenge to the team. And what we also found out was we moved in the past 6 months from essentially our thought leadership capacity being mostly written into becoming digital and video based. And that's no easy feat. Is to try and come up with high level, relevant, regular, consistent thought leadership via video. But again, that's the challenge that you have to set yourself up for. So in a content management strategy, we have evolved completely. In a geographical base, we have evolved completely. In a demographic base for our customers, we've also evolved completely. But all of these evolutions have been positive, but they do create growing pains.
And would you envision different Fit Summit chapters or exhibitions around the world? So one for South America, one for North America. Now we've got Australasia, right? But you know, does it capture? There's even East Asia, right? Taiwan, China. The market is huge, right? So is that something that you have that you envision in down the years or down the months?
Yeah, so look, in terms of coming from a community background, we would call that geo-cloning. So how do you manage to take a successful product in Singapore and geo-clone it into Hong Kong, geo-clone it into Japan, geo-clone it into Beijing? The reality has to come down to the end goal, so the reasons why your community exists. Now, the reasons why our community exists are essentially connectivity, and branding and profiling of companies. Now, in a marketplace like the US, where there is connectivity and there is a substantial amount of thought leadership, and perhaps the business development done between companies is quite national versus international, the reality is we would never do a Fit Summit in the US because the US does not require what we would deliver as a community.
Right.
Would the Middle East require that? Yes, because the Middle East as a marketplace is fragmented. The Middle East as a marketplace does not have a huge number of products that we could offer them. And at the same time, I think the Middle East would also want as a market to grow into Asia. And so there are reflection points that we have to look at and say, does this region really need our product? And if it does, in what size, shape, format does that product have to be? Does our community see a need for us to be there? And if it does, we'll be there. But it might well be that we're there with a strategic partner rather than set up something of our own.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And if let's say there was a self-starter solopreneur wanting to come out and do his own thing in the hospitality, fitness, health, wellness space, what tips would you give to avoid blind spots, right? From a community building perspective?
Yeah, great question. Again, I would start with the goals of your community. You know, what is your ultimate end goal? There are various communities that are SME focused or entrepreneur focused. Now, the positive thing about these communities is that they are incredibly energetic, incredibly mobilized, and incredibly willing to be interacted with and to learn and to listen to each other. The negative point of view is they are undercapitalized. And so any community built on a small or small cap angle would always, almost always, be invisible from larger market players.
Mm.
Now, if the purpose of your network is to grow small, medium-sized enterprises into larger companies or be acquired by larger companies, then you have to have larger companies in your ecosystem.
Mm.
And if you're not providing a content that larger companies want to listen to, you will alienate that part of the community. And so your small cap network will remain a small cap entrepreneur network. Now that's something to consider for any community builder, is what size and scale of companies do you want to represent? And does the content and the connections that you are offering offer value to each of those people in your community? You know, is it buy side centric or is it sell side centric? Again, it's another really key point of any kind of community. If your community is a network of solution providers and you have no solution buyers in your network, your community will essentially be a product showcase with no buyers. It will be a shop with no customers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when it comes down kind of community you're building, you have to align your content and you have to align your reasons for being born with understanding who you're trying to attract into that community. And once you deliver that, then of course you have to make sure that you've got a couple of very influential people initially backing your network, and that those people represent the ecosystem, the entirety of the ecosystem that you're trying to build, not just one part of it.
You speak very much from a B2B sort of point of view in terms of building the community connectivity and network, which is what exactly you're doing. But what about from a B2C sort of angle, which is, I guess, what exactly Lululemon has been doing all these years, right, in terms of building the community of clients or customers that are actually purchasing their products and services. Any insights on that?
I think depending upon the nature of your business, whether it's local or regional, will depend upon who you have to try and interact with. The reality is, if you are, for example, a fitness business that's trying to interact with consumers of fitness, then the reality is you should be trying to understand which other parts of the ecosystem you can partner with strategically, commercially, whatever format that may be. Now, for example, as a gym owner, you should be trying to work with healthcare companies, insurance companies. You should be working with equipment providers, technology providers, retailers of all forms of fashion. You should also be targeting every single one of your neighboring communities, so every one of your neighboring businesses, whether they are themselves retail, commercial, B2B or B2C companies. And so you have to try and look at it from a perspective of who in your community touches a potential consumer. And then the reality is that once you're building that community, you really have to look at different business channels for content. So whether you're looking at content that has to probably be through Facebook or Instagram. As a B2B network, our content is predominantly shared and marketed on LinkedIn. It fits our network very well. Is there a need for us to be in TikTok? Absolutely not. Great network, not for us. But yeah, we would align ourselves with those kind of companies. We wouldn't align ourselves with some of the B2C magazines and webinars and communities out there. So for example, Shape Magazine, a great magazine. From a B2B perspective, it offers us nothing. From a B2C perspective, as a fitness business, yeah, be interviewed, get really comfortable and close with the media, try and get some visibility out there to try and gain your own personal awareness and your own company awareness. So I think as a B2C community builder, you have to go more regional and you have to make sure that you are touching on the exact same ecosystem that we would. However, the end goal is slightly different.
Thank you. And to end off with some final words, right? Are there any people or reference points within the Fit Summit that you can recommend for people to actually be listening to podcasts or watching or reading to get a better idea or perspective on successful building communities?
Sure. We have a wealth of information on our website, all free to access. There are webinars, there are research reports, there are downloads, there are videos, a whole range of different forms and functions. If you ever want to learn more about the communities and some of the trends and business challenges out there, jump on our website, download anything you want to. We do have a couple of these large-scale events coming up. If you want access to that, please do jump online and register there. And there's some fantastic companies, some fantastic people to listen to learn from, to connect with, to grow from. And that's what we want to do.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Ross, for your time. It was a great learning experience for me as well, man. I'm going to transcribe this and unpack it all. And
all good, man.
Yeah, it's very, very big picture, right? And it's so macro and massive that it's very different from all the other conversations that I've had with the self-starters. And actually, you know, this, after hearing from you and speaking to you, I don't know if there's anything that I can contribute to the Fit Summit team or the Fit Summit network, and not as a full-timer, just let me know. They're happy to jump on and assist in anything that you need me to, or you think that I'll be able to add value to.
Thanks, buddy.